All right, guys, so I just stumbled across this fascinating story about Nancy Pelosi and her position on student loan debt forgiveness, okay? And if you guys remember, I did a video about this probably a week ago in which Nancy Pelosi came out and said that Joe Biden does not have the power to forgive student loan debt with a stroke of a pen, okay? Now, this is actually a super controversial statement because up until now, the Democrat position has been that Biden can forgive student loan debt with a stroke of a pen. That is what Elizabeth Warren has been saying. That is what Chuck Schumer has been saying. That is what the Democrat establishment has been saying and pushing on Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden has pushed back a little bit. He's been hesitant on this issue because he says that he doesn't know if he actually has authority. And I told you guys, I've looked into whether or not the president has the authority to do this. Honestly, it's up in the air, right? My interpretation is that he can try to do it, but he's most likely going to face some legal issues. I don't know for sure whether or not it will actually stand, but it's something that if the president wanted to try to do it, they could do it. It essentially would be setting a new precedent, okay? That's basically my interpretation of it. Now, the thing is that Nancy Pelosi, like I said, surprised the world. She shocked the world because she straight up went out there and used Republican talking points on this issue. She said it would not be fair to those whom did not go to college, but yet our money has essentially been borrowed for other people to go to college. And just to wipe that away, again, would not be fair, right? And it also wouldn't be fair to people who actually paid back their student loan debt, right? It's not like you're going to refund them the money. And I agree with Nancy Pelosi and her Republican talking points, right? I 100% agree. I don't necessarily think that student loan debt should be canceled, but there's definitely something that needs to be done about the problem because I think there's a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse in this system. And I think that the idea that, students should be taking out loans of tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to school with the promise that you're going to be able to pay it back in the future is really stupid, right? That's a really dubious, false promise that I think Republicans should do a better job of addressing, right? I think this is an issue that they should actually really start talking about because it will help them expand the base, right? It will help them kind of appeal more to younger people and issues that young people care about. And Republicans desperately need to actually start talking about issues that young people actually care about. I'm so serious about that. Okay, it's gonna be important. That's how you win over the younger generation, right? You got to talk about issues that they care about. But regardless, this video is about why Nancy Pelosi actually came out and said this, right? Why is she opposed to Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and the idea that Biden can just forgive student loan debt with a stroke of a pen? And apparently, this is happening because her billionaire donors told her to, okay? They said jump. Nancy Pelosi said how high, okay? Now, the original story came from the Intercept. Now, I'm going to read a write-up, a summary of this from another website called thetruthout.org that basically does a good job of summarizing Intercept's article without me having to read all of what the Intercept wrote. So, and I just want you guys to understand that this is a prime example of how billionaires have bought and sold our politicians, okay? These politicians are for sale, okay? Including Nancy Pelosi. The ones that's been there the longest, the Mitch McConnells, the Nancy Pelosi's, these are the politicians that are the most for sale. They've completely sold out, okay? I'm just saying, that's the reality of the situation. So let's read here. A memo uncovered by the Intercept shows that House Speaker Nancy Pelosi opposed supporting a push for President Joe Biden to cancel student loan debt after billionaire donors, whom she has close ties, urged her to do so. Last week, Pelosi announced her opposition to a popular progressive proposal to cancel student loan debt, which advocates say could provide major relief to millions of borrowers and provide a huge boost to the COVID-burdened economy. Quote, people think the president of the United States has the power for debt forgiveness. He does not, Pelosi said, adding that though she believes Congress should be in charge of the proposal, she also thinks student loan debt relief is unfair. Okay, now, this is interesting because the billionaire donors, right, whom essentially have influenced Nancy Pelosi, allegedly, their names are Stephen and Mary Swig, okay? Now, the Swigs are billionaire donors out of San Francisco whom have essentially bought the Democrat Party, right? They've also bought the progressive movement as well, right? They've bought their progressive politicians too. This is why I try to tell people, progressives, for as much as they want to talk about money and politics, they can be bought and sold as well, right? They are bought and sold, okay? Now, the Swigs have been pro student loan debt forgiveness, but for whatever reason, they don't want Biden to do it via executive order, but they have advocated it be done through legislature. They've actually backed Ilhan Omar's amendment to cancel student loan debt, but for whatever reason, they just don't want to do it through Biden. And I'm not exactly sure why that's so. In this memo, they basically said, we agree with student loan debt cancellation, but it cannot be done through executive action. It cannot be done through executive action. It can only be done through legislation. And apparently, again, these people are tight with Nancy Pelosi, right? They have mugs of Nancy Pelosi's face, okay? They are super tight with Pelosi. Apparently, after that memo came out, Nancy Pelosi came out and basically went against the idea that Biden can actually forgive student loan debt. And not only that, she went as far as to say student loan debt relief is unfair, which to me would signal that maybe she's not for doing it legislatively either, right? That's why I'm a little confused about this story. But let's read a little bit more here. The opinion, which puts her at odds with Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and surprised congressional insiders, comes after a powerful billionaire couple circulated a memo saying the president does not have the power to cancel student debt. Quote, recently there has been heightened fervor around Senators Elizabeth Warren and Schumer's proposal that President-elect Joe Biden could cancel student debt with the pen as opposed to legislation. Unfortunately, that cannot happen. The November memo from Democrat mega donors Stephen and Mary Swig read. All right, so it's important to note that this memo came out in November, right? Almost a year ago. So it's really hard to say whether this specific memo influenced what Nancy Pelosi has said recently, but Nancy Pelosi has been silent on the issue, right? And the main people talking about it from the Democrats have been Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and the progressives, right? Nancy Pelosi hasn't really said anything. She's just kind of been like, you know. But when she has come out and talked about it, which she has recently, she's basically saying the exact same things that were said in this memo. That's basically what she's saying. So in my opinion, you know, with this talk of student loan debt forgiveness being revived by Schumer and Elizabeth Warren, maybe the Swigs kind of, you know, gave her a wink and a nod and say, hey, Nancy, you might want to come out here and, you know, take care of this mess. You know, go out here and do the trick. You know, do the thing that we pay you to do. You know, here's some cash. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, do the thing. Do the thing. Okay? And Nancy Pelosi did so. Okay? I mean, that could be possible, right? That could be possible. It could also be that, you know, this was something that was just asked of her at the time and then she just kind of gave her opinion, right? That could be it as well. Indeed, Schumer and Warren have been lobbying Biden to follow up on campaign promises and cancel student debt, which they say the president could do with executive order. Despite Pelosi's statement, many advocates and legal experts say that Biden has the authority to cancel student debt and that time is of the essence to free up nearly $2 trillion worth of debt for borrowers to inject into the economy. Pelosi's view aligns more with the Swigs memo than the views of her congressional colleagues who have cited legal avenues for the president to cancel student debt. But this may be due to the fact that Pelosi evidently maintains a close relationship with the billionaire donors whom have previously lobbied her directly on issues, the Intercept reports. Pelosi not only keeps political ties to the Swigs, but also financial and professional ones as well. For years, the couple has given her the maximum amount allowed under campaign finance law. Stephen Swig has served as her campaign treasurer in re-election campaigns since 2012, and their niece worked for Pelosi between 2018 and March of this year. Okay, so obviously, right, again, like I said, Nancy Pelosi and these billionaires are locked at the hip, okay? And if they say jump, Pelosi says hi. Because it's very unusual to see basically the leader of the Democrat Party in the House come out against the leader of the Democrat Party in the Senate. Okay? And the problem is that if they really want student loan debt forgiveness via legislation, that's definitely not going to happen with a 50-50 Senate. So it's almost like Nancy Pelosi is basically saying it's not going to happen, right? We're just not going to do it, right? So I don't know. You know, that's kind of my interpretation because she knows that it can't happen via legislation. But what's also interesting to me is why haven't they tried to forgive student loan debt through reconciliation? Okay, because I'm thinking that that would have to be a possibility as well too, because again, if it's an act of Congress, it has something to do with the congressional budget, right? It has to do with the finances of the country. You would think that it can be done through reconciliation, but yet they haven't proposed that option. So I also find that interesting as well. The Swigs hold huge sway within Democratic circles, according to the Intercept, donating millions of dollars to the Democrat Party over the years, but they're described by political insiders as an often well-meaning couple who have donated to worthy causes, but are rendered almost comically out of touch by their extraordinary wealth, right? The Intercept's Ryan Grimm and Ken Klipperstein, they didn't even know until recent years, for instance, that people even had student loans. Pelosi's staff has denied that the Swig memo had influenced her view on the issue. The memo, after all, was supportive of the idea of canceling student loan debt in general, even if it says that Biden lacks authority. However, student loan debt advocates are skeptical that Pelosi wasn't influenced by the Swigs, especially since the House Speaker's statement shocked many on Capitol Hill. Quote, the reason she was for it legislatively was because Steve and Mary asked her to. One student loan debt advocate who is familiar with the discussions between the Swigs and Pelosi told the Intercept. Okay, so basically, as you can see there, right, that's a story of how these big Democrat donors, right, these big progressive Democratic donors have influenced Nancy Pelosi in regards to coming out against Chuck Schumer. And the reason why I talk about this story, guys, because I just wanted to highlight how much money has an effect in politics in terms of what these politicians come out here and they say, right? What policies are they for? What are they willing to do legislatively? All that stuff has to do with what their donors are actually telling them to say and to do, right? And I have no doubt in my mind that these people influenced Nancy Pelosi, because if you actually read the memo, it literally word for word says exactly what Nancy Pelosi said, except they're actually for student loan debt forgiveness, and Nancy Pelosi claims that she is, but also she says that it wouldn't be fair. So I'm kind of confused about where Nancy Pelosi actually stands on this issue, right? She could just be influenced by the billionaire donors in terms of being for it legislatively, but at the same time, her personal opinion, she could be against it. And I feel like that's kind of what's going on here, because of the fact that she did give a Republican argument on why it should not be forgiven, right? And that probably is her true feelings on that, right? However, she does have to go along with the party. She does have to go along with the billionaires who have bought and sold her, okay? That's just kind of how it goes. So all that's to say, like I said, I'm not for necessary student loan debt forgiveness. I do think it's an issue that should be tackled, right? I think there are conservative solutions that the Republican Party should try to come up with and advertise to act like they care about this issue, right? Because they need to expand the base. Regardless, at this point, it kind of looks like this is an issue within the Democrat Party that is going to be a sticking point for a long time, and it doesn't look like it's going to be happening anytime soon, because Biden has been hesitant to do it. I don't think he really wants to do it. I think there's a lot of progressive pressure for it. But low-key, I think the establishment Democrats are just like, we're just not going to really try to move on this. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.